Hi everybody, how are you all doing? Well, spring is here. Hasn't quite sprung yet and it's still a bit nippy here, hence the snud. But the signs in the garden are fantastic. Everything's starting to wake up. We've got, behind me you can see the rosemary budding, flowering, sorry, and behind there we've got the jostaberry and the cherry starting to bud. And we're starting to see the bulbs coming through, so the crocuses are coming through and the daffs aren't far behind. So this is a great time of the year because all that hard work you put in at the end of last year and start of this year is going to start to pay off. There's still a way to go yet. There's no tomatoes, not so many turnips either, but that's later in the year and it's all to come. So I'll give you a spin around the garden, our first one of the spring for this year, and come back later on. So one thing, we've got lots of bulbs at the moment and it's all crocuses. Now we must have had hundreds of bulbs last year because there seem to be in every pot that we've got, and they're also coming up through the path which we put in at least 3 years ago, so they're coming through there and over the other side as well. So crocuses are everywhere and you can see the starts of tulips. And hopefully next week daffodils. So it really is bud time, but don't rest on your laurels. Now's the time to start thinking about seeds, so don't get too carried away. Tomatoes, not yet. I've learnt my lesson, so tomatoes don't go in for another couple of weeks. But sweet peas, we did some over winter, and these are the ones there. Of course, all well labelled. We've got ones I put in 2 weeks ago, which are really starting to make a bid for freedom, and keep turning the pots round so that they don't bend towards the sun. So just swing those round a little bit and they'll be stronger. And when you get the first sort of true leaves, you can nip out the top, but not yet. And the next lot under here, and the final lot under here. So we've got a lot of sweet peas coming. We've also got some pots here for today. We're going to put some broad beans in here, nice and deep, and these in a couple of weeks will start popping up, and we'll be able to plant those out before we go on holiday at the start of April. So broad beans you can put in now. Chilies as well, that's another job for this weekend, and certainly next week, is getting chilies indoors on a heated surface and getting going. And tomatoes, I say, 2 weeks time. I know there's a shortage out there at the moment. Don't panic, there's plenty more things you can eat aside from turnips. Looking around the garden, you can see, I think, how much greener it looks now. And bit by bit, life's coming. So we've got lovely colours on here. But the ferns starting to starting to wake up, but not here yet. Our little grass garden is coming to life and certainly growing every day. It seems like there's more and more in here. We've planted out some of the sweet pea, and this one I've put behind a bit of glass just to protect it a little bit, but hopefully that will take. And one of our first sweet peas sort of growing up to the first level here in the next week or two. Just behind there as well, you can see a little primrose. Another sign that spring's here. At the garden, really, it's all about things that are budding. So the roses starting to put on leaf, which is a lovely sign. And then we've got the mulberry and the jostaberry and the cherry, and they're all budding nicely. And across, at the moment, the crabapple isn't really going for it, but that comes a little bit later. And the honeyberry is certainly showing off and starting to come into flower. And then along, blackcurrant looking good. Red currants making their way slowly, but you can see little bits of green. And that means the pruning we did as well has been really useful. And down here you can start seeing new leaves, which is great. And that means that the gooseberry sawfly that attacked it last year hasn't had a big impact on it. And then finally, got the gooseberries. These are a bit slower because they're in the shade, but you can see already signs of life in the gooseberries. I'm really hopeful they're going to give us the same sort of crop as last year. We're also trying to make sure that there's a bit of colour inside the house, so aside from buying cut flowers and taking our own daffodils when they start coming, we also repotted a lot of the house plants last week as well. So moved into bigger pots, freshened up the compost and gave them a good drink, and you can see hopefully on this one here how healthy and how look at that sheen on those leaves. And you can see some of the buds coming already, so that's the parrot plant and how good it's looking there. And out the front you can see that our little crocuses planted right at the back are doing really, really well. But as we bring it back, we've got the tulips and the daffs and others all through this bed, so there's more and more and more to come. Another job we did last week was get more compost. So if you've got jobs to do, collecting your compost up, broken crocks for the bottom of pots, and just some tidying up is a great idea. Now's the time to do it, and hopefully we'll have plenty of great stuff to look at as we move through spring. Well, that's all for now. We'll see you at the end of March, when the garden will be in full swing really. All the bulbs will be out, we'll have some things to plant out, and it'll just look a lot more positive. So looking forward to that. So look after yourselves. If you're celebrating it this week, then happy St David's Day for those of you who are Welsh or Welsh extraction. And remember, this time of year is a big time as well for getting sorted out. So if you're like me and you've got all of these seed packets, a long weekend is a great time to get in there and make sure you've got what you need for the year ahead. So for now, goodbye and see you soon.